All right, so we made there was a comment about having been doing the releasing drills. It's like kind of welling of awareness of the darkness within came up, and it's over a sense of being overwhelmed. And I think, to me, that's real training. That's what training feels like. I think the idea of training the development of the skill of the deconstruction of the ego tripartite mind, that training has been so rebranded by the wellness industry. So you do a lot of your training to feel good about yourself, to feel good, to feel pleasure, to either feel in better shape or feel better about oneself, to stop feeling the negative kind of thing. And such that we're surprised if we happen to be fortunate enough to become proximal to somebody who's doing real training. We get surprised when this doesn't feel like that. Well, that surprise comes from our delusional belief in the rebranding of spiritual training as done by the wellness industry. You can't sell, in other words, what they sell is really the novice effect. Okay? So, for example, if you are a couch potato and you start working out, you're going to feel some pleasure because endorphins are going to kick in, you're going to start moving things, you're going to promote circulation, you know what I mean? And so the part of the novice effect is not just the ability to make strength gains, for example, pretty rapidly, but it's pleasurable at first. It's not pleasurable, as we were mentioning earlier, it's not pleasurable to wake up at 4:30 to go work out so you can work out twice a day on your strength training and then work a 10-hour day and then come teach, up to 4 hours some nights. Like, it's not, there's no pleasure in it. It's miserable in a way if you let your mind get into it. But I would never say, even if I can keep my mind out of it, I can never say it's pleasurable. I don't go to bed, at 9 o'clock going, can't wait to do it again. That's not what happens. If I keep my mind, if I can release my ego tripartite mind, I can simply do it, like breathing. I don't have pleasure from it. It does not overwhelm me in depression or anything like that. But as I get later in the week, you look at the sleep's not that much. I'm pushing the sleep. Can you see that? It's not at 8 to 9 hours. It's like what is that? Like a 7 to 8, right? Do you see that? And that's a push. So you're pushing that, and somewhere around Thursday, Friday, I'm like, oh God. Do you see, my mind will travel forward. The solution is the same, though. I can't be taken by the ego tripartite mind. I have to release the mind. As soon as I release the mind, the darkness goes away. If you understand that the ego tripartite mind, as I've said, is a system of correspondences, That it is the darkness, it is the separating force, it is yin, it is female. It is not an anti-you, it's part of you. It's not an anti-nature or anti-universe, it is part of the universe. The issue that we have in our training, why do we train to be able to deconstruct the ego tripartite mind, is because it's prone to domination. And in its domination, we become part of the darkness. And when I say that, it's not that we don't have darkness in us, that we aren't part of the darkness per se, but we're not taken by it. There's a part of us that is something other than the darkness. But even though there is a part of us that is other than the darkness, we really should stop being surprised when we sense the darkness. We should instead understand it as just the cosmological order of things. And then we re-employ the mechanism. If I can release the ego tripartite mind, the light will come into me, and I can now remain within the order of things. So, comes Thursday, Friday, I have to do more of the releasing skills, do you see? I have to do them. So, maybe like on what's tend to work for me is on Wednesday. I still wake up at 4:30, but I don't come lift weights. I come and do an hour of releasing. Do you see? And then you get like a kickstart. I finish Thursday, Friday. Because that work day and then the night schedule pushes to sleep, do you see? On the weekend, I don't have the work days most times. I don't have the night schedule, and I can go back to the 8-9 hour sleep, not push it. Okay? If you read the masters that the wellness industry borrows their language from, if you go to the source and not just take their word for it for what it is, you're going to see that these masters described it exactly as I have to you. This is not about a pleasure seeking. We have the word that we today use as ecstasy. But ecstasy in the pre-modern sense meant exactly what I mean when I say you reconcile the two minds, which means it's a reconciliation of the subject-object dichotomy. That is what the word means. It's just over time that word has come to mean something like pleasure or joy or happiness. You have a drug named after it, right? And it's a party drug, do you see? But that's not the original word. So when you look at the ancient masters, they're telling you in many ways the exact opposite as I have. It's not a pleasurable thing. The truly spiritual life, the truly religious life is not a pleasurable thing. You don't do it for pleasure. And so the absence of pleasure is not indicative of you not doing it. In fact, it might be the opposite. It might be the case that your pleasure is actually a sign that you're not doing it. This is because of the relationship between the reification of the self and it finding everything that reifies itself pleasurable. And everything that deconstructs the self, it finds unpleasurable. So you have some obvious cases that we've talked about before, right? We've talked about St. John and the Dark Knight many, many times. This is at the heart of Christian mysticism. Or we recently, Ivan brought us back to the Desert Fathers. Some of you are reading them again. It is not a pleasurable life. They're out in the desert, seeking what we would call hardship, but living in a way that is not hardship to them. Do you see that? But you need the hardship to see if you could live within it as if it's not hardship. It's the same in your Aikido. Why do we need a sincere spinal displacement so that I can act as if I'm not being spinally displaced? Or in the rolling we just did, right? If there is no environment in which you would falter and your ego tripartite mind would thrive, then there is no opportunity for you to free yourself from that mind. Okay? So you and I, Tristan, were rolling. I mean, did you find it pleasurable? Was it pleasurable? Would you rather roll or have a shake from Kyle's kitchen? Do you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? But was it of such a nature that you're like, no, fuck this? No, you hung in there. There were some laughs. Do you see? But it's not pleasurable. So I would always say, as I've always said to the kids, like, you're not really training until you hate it. We said it too at the beginning. Like, it's a reason, to tell you the truth, it's the reason why I just don't like beginners. I mean, you guys were not Buddhas when you walked in, right? You were not Buddhas. You've come a long way with such things. It's almost like, I didn't mind it, right? But brand new infants are hard to take care of, right? Like, I'll take the toddler years again. Those were fun. But a real brand new infant, you're like, I'm up all night. I'm up all night. And somehow I got to get to work. You know what I mean? It's hard. Well, a new person is like that. A new person is like hard, and I really don't want to do it again. Because you can see how tough my own schedule is, do you see? And very much like at this age with this work schedule, who knows, Mary gets pregnant again, and it's like, this is a brand new infant. I'll be like, oh man, okay, I guess I'm waking up at 2:30 now. Do you know what I mean? Now I better make 6 hours work or 4 hours work. It's going to be tough, do you see? Do you get what I'm saying? Same thing with a new student. It's like, it's a lot of work. And one of the things that I find very off-putting is how much they love Aikido. Because then I know they're not training. Right? Don't you remember those days? It's like, oh, I just love it. I love it. I want to come all the time. I love this place. Yeah, I don't think you'd be saying that now. Do you know what I mean? You have your days when you want to come and you're like happy to see each other, but come on, let's be honest. You're not like that. I remember you all said it. Everybody says it. I love Aikido. I can't wait to do it again. Do you know what I mean? It's pleasurable to them because they're not really training. Because all it is doing is reifying the self. And that is not training. The goal of training is to deconstruct the self. And there's no way it's pleasurable because the self only finds its reification pleasurable, not its deconstruction. So you got to trust the ancient masters. You have to trust your teacher. And you got to kind of hope in a weird way, that you get there where there's just no pleasure in this, and that it is actually terrifying. Okay? That dropping of self, which is a phrase the ancients use. I use deconstruct, but it's the same. That dropping of self, again, if you read the masters, it is always described as a death. Oh, it's a upaic term, do you see? But it is quite literal, too. From an idealism, it's quite literal. But it's quite upaic in the sense it's a kind of poetic, because you can all, from this side of awakening, you know what death is like to you, and it is terrifying. You see? And that's how it's described. It's a death. You have to die and then be reborn, but first you have to die. They could have described it like the moderns do, right? It's a liberating joy. You're going to do their ecstatic dancing. They're just trying to get high. It's just a cope. Do you get it? I love that word. It's the only good thing out of wokeism. It's a coat. It's a salve they put on the pain of self. And the wellness industry has made us adopt that too. And especially Aikido. Right? Because Aikido is supposed to be joyful and harmonious and non-injurious and, blending and positive thoughts. Do you see how that is? Is that really what it's like when I throw you? My expectation is you should be able for me to throw you. I mean, I can tone it down, right? And I can fill you with pleasure. But I can also go the other way. It's funny because there's many people that just watch the videos. They will look at your ukemi and they'll do like great ukemi, great uke, way to follow, and all this kind of stuff. But you guys know I'm just chucking you. You're going where I go. You're pretty cool because you didn't break your head, but you're still going that way. Do you get it? And I think it's great that we've moved away from the larger community and we're in the Patreon community where people have a keener eye. And I'm finally glad that someone and a few have been commenting like, I would not want to be your uke. Do you see? Because you don't get to roll out at anything. You just get thrown. And then you have to land like a cat. And if you really think about it, you can't really figure out how they're landing if you pay attention. Because you want to roll, you know what I mean? You want to do some sort of roll. They're not really ever doing a roll. The higher senpai in here are not doing a roll. They're just not breaking upon contact if you pay attention. If you stop any throw at the first contact, you see that they're basically going, but they're able to transfer the energy and disperse it. Okay? If you pay attention even to the way that we teach the back break fall, it starts out very circular, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then we do the contracting back break fall. Do you see? But there's no step from all those little sequential circular dispersion of energy. Step back, step down, go. There's no step between that and the contracting center back break fall drill. Right? It's just like, what do? Hey, just hold your center and find your foot when you hit the ground. There's nothing to get there. Do you see that? And if you pay attention, we actually have a division of uke, because some of us can make that jump and some of us can't, because we have no step for you. Right? And then if you pay attention, when we do the X pattern, there's no back foot. There's no back foot for you to find. There's only the inside hand of the contracting center back break fall, do you see? And we don't have any steps from the contracting center back break fall to the X pattern inner hand. You just have to get there, do you see? And so it makes sense that someone looking at it would go, I'm not sure how they got there. Well, neither are they. Okay? No one's really sure. I don't have a lesson plan for it. I just throw, you find the inside hand and you go. And again, we have another break in ukemi. Who can do that, who can't do that, right? But there's absolutely nothing pleasurable in that. I'm not sure anyone would describe that as harmonious. It's terrifying. And unless you can free yourself from the terror, you're going to bite it. It's dangerous. If you free yourself from the terror, you'll find the inside hand. It's that simple. Like the ego tripartite mind wants to go, how do I find it? Where do I put it? Do you see? But the only answer is free yourself from the terror. Free yourself from the terror and the hand will be there. But that freedom from terror first comes with the facing of terror. There's no pleasure in that. It's the opposite of it. And I wouldn't say, I would imagine if you free yourself from the terror in the middle of the fall and you go like, yeah, you're going to bite it again. Do you see? Because it's not on the other side. It's not the ego tripartite mind goes, no, terror bad. Oh, if I could free myself from terror, then I'll be happy. No, because that's still the ego tripartite mind. So you go, I'm going to find my arm. No, you're not, because you were just filled with that same ego tripartite mind. You're not going to find the arm. That's why if you look at the faces of the ukes, when they land, they're stoic. Pay attention. They never are smiling. They're not angry. There's nothing. Do you see? But you could pay attention too to the others that I can't throw with the X pattern. Or the ones who bite it in the X pattern. Well, look at the face. The emotion shows up on the face. Because that's the ego tripartite mind. It's stuck between pleasure and pain. Pleasure is not freedom. The wellness industry trying to sell you something, trying to take advantage of your need for pleasure. It's just another drug. The way cocaine makes you feel good, or meth makes you feel good. Mindfulness training makes you feel good. Again, though, only at the novice level. Only then. Just like the drugs stop feeling good after a while. So you do your mindfulness training, and it feels good at first, because most of the time you're living like a crazy chicken with no head. It feels good to stop, but after a while it does nothing for you. This is not real. It's not real training. It's just more of the same. I want to try to feel better. I want to try to feel pleasure. But that's what makes you feel pain. That this is going to give you pain eventually. As it fails, now what? So yes, and if you read the masters, the training is terrifying. It is overwhelming if you're doing it right. It is overwhelming. Okay? So some sense of being overwhelmed. Do you get it? Think about it. Uke is pushing on you, and they're about to push you over. They're about to overwhelm your position. What's making that possible? You wanted to stay in place. If you just let go and release, they can't overwhelm you. So it's the same thing. You have this release and a lot of crap that you've been putting down and hiding and ignoring and denying. It's going to come up. Your ego tripartite mind is going to want to say, nope, no, don't. And in that, yang clashes with it. Under the pressure, just like I asked you to do with Uke, under the pressure of Uke, yield, now the conflict's gone. Now the overwhelming is gone. Now the power struggle is gone. Because it requires your participation. So in the same way, stuff starts to come up, that's where the release has to happen. Be attentive that your ego tripartite mind, because of its homeostatic energy, is going to say no, it's going to push on it. Just like it does when Uke is moving you. No. That's what it does. But the answer is the same, release. Become possessible. Become penetratable. Just like you internalize the yang aspect of Uke, it comes through you. It comes through the surface of you, do you see? And eventually it comes out of you. From the ground out. It's passing through you. You're a vessel. In the same way, stuff starts to come out. Stay released. Out it will go. No sense of overwhelming. Just nothing. Fine. The order of things is working through me. But that's terrifying. Just like, how many times do I say, hey, Uke can't really push you unless you're pushing back on him. Your ego tripartite mind goes, he's full of shit. All you got to do is push harder, and then you're going to be much better. Right? How many times have I said stop pushing on Uke? And how many times did you actually go, okay, yeah, check. That's not what happens. I just give up, right? I just give up. You're not going to do it today, so I stopped asking for it. Right? Okay. So you should expect, I feel the release, shit's going to come up. I'm going to try to push on it. I have to release, keep going. Okay? I have to keep releasing. And therein is my chance. You see? That is my chance to cultivate the skill of releasing. So in a way, and I hate to tell you this, but I mean, come on. You fucked up. The darkness came, and you pushed on it, and that's why you felt overwhelmed. So you lost your opportunity to release. Now you got to do it all again. And it's not so easy at first, you see. It's not so easy to release to the point that the stuff's going to come up, and it's going to trigger you trying to push on it. Okay? It's just like I don't always, what happens when you fail miserably at the X pattern, if I'm throwing you, what do I do then on the next rep? Do I give you another X pattern? No. You see? I might even go to another Uke, right? Because your chance at it is over. It's gone now. Now, what comes up, because that's important, I would say you should expect to cry. There is a healing aspect to water. And there is a purification aspect to water and also to salt. And this stuff has to be purified. Okay? It's not, I'm not sure. I mean, there might be some releasing, but you got to get to a tier level because of the nature of water. Okay? And those tears aren't tears of depression, because the God mind can't feel depression. Those are purifying tears. And that is how you should understand them. They're not, if you pay attention, you're not really crying for yourself. If you are, it's not it. But if you pay attention, you're more feeling compassion, true compassion. And those tears, if I were to poetically describe them, they are either tears for everyone. You feel the pain and suffering of everyone. Or, poetically, they are God crying through you. Those are God's tears. So you should not try to shut them off, and you should not try to avoid them. They will stop when you have been purified of those parts of the darkness that you've been hiding from yourself.